if my hair is cut?
Have you ever wondered how someone with unimaginable strength, who could defeat entire armies alone, ended up broken and betrayed? Samson, the strongest man in the Bible, didn't fall in war or combat. He was undone by love. But why did Delilah betray him? Was it for riches, survival, or something even more sinister? Today, we peel back the layers of this tragic tale to uncover what truly brought down Israel's greatest warrior, not a sword or an army, but a choice. Stay with us as we reveal the untold truth behind one of the Bible's most powerful and heartbreaking stories. Samson's journey began long before he took his first breath. In a time when Israel suffered deeply under the oppression of the Philistines,
and he began
a childless
to unravel.
couple, Manoah and his wife, cried out to
The
God.
angel of the Lord
In those
came
days,
with a promise,
infertility was seen as a curse,
a child
and the
destined
heart
for
longed
deliverance.
for a child. Then one day the miraculous happened. An angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife and gave her a prophecy that changed everything. She would give birth to a son, but not just any son. This child would be set apart for God from the moment of his conception. He would be a Nazirite, bound by sacred vows, and his life would carry a divine mission to begin the deliverance of Israel from the Philistines.
No
This
wine,
was no ordinary pregnancy.
nothing unclean,
It came with strict instructions.
and never touch his hair.
Manoah's wife
He will
was
be set
told
apart
not to
for
drink
God.
wine or eat anything impure, and the boy's hair was never to be cut. His hair would be a visible sign of his Nazirite vow, a physical symbol of his consecration to God. Each strand represented a connection to divine power, and as long as he kept that vow, God's strength would rest on him. Samson grew up knowing he was different. While other children played carefree, he lived under a higher calling. His strength was unmatched, but he understood, at least in the beginning, that it wasn't his own. It came from God. He wasn't born to be just another man. He was born to be a deliverer. But the burden of that purpose also came with temptation. As Samson matured, his struggle between spiritual purpose and human desire became clear. The first major sign of this conflict
Drawn
came when
by
he chose a
desire,
Philistine woman as
Samson
his
chose a
wife.
path that troubled
This
his
decision
parents
shocked
and his
parents,
God.
who knew it wasn't in line with God's plan. But Samson insisted it would be the beginning of his campaign against the Philistines. On the surface, it sounded strategic. In reality, it revealed a dangerous trait. Samson often acted on impulse.
With his
making
bare
decisions
hands,
from
he
emotion
crushed
rather
the
than
lion,
divine guidance.
proof
Still,
of God's power
Samson's
within
feats
him.
were awe-inspiring. He tore a lion apart with his bare hands. He struck down an entire army using only the jawbone of a donkey. Time and time again, he proved that his strength wasn't human. In one iconic battle, Samson stood alone, surrounded by Philistines. And with only a discarded jawbone, he brought down 1,000 enemies. What others saw as madness was, in truth, divine power working through a man chosen by God.
With only a donkey's
But the Philistines had
jawbone, he
enough.
struck down
They
1,000
realized
enemies.
they couldn't beat Samson in battle, so they planned to destroy him from within. That's when Delilah appeared. By the time Delilah entered Samson's life, he was already a legend. Israel praised him, enemies feared him, but under the surface, Samson remained vulnerable. He was still human, and Delilah knew exactly how to reach the part of him that was most fragile, his heart. Delilah lived in the valley of Sorek, a region on the edge of Philistine territory. She was beautiful, clever, and strategically placed. The Philistine leaders approached her with a lucrative offer: find out the secret to Samson's strength, and she would be rewarded handsomely. Delilah agreed. Whether driven by ambition, pressure, or greed, she accepted the role that would ultimately lead to Samson's fall. She didn't confront him immediately.
She won his
Delilah
trust
played a long game.
while plotting his
Charm,
fall.
patience, and emotional manipulation. Slowly, she gained his trust. She pretended to love him, to care deeply for him, all while plotting behind his back. She asked questions carefully, never too direct at first, and Samson, though strong in body, was weak to her affection. He believed she truly cared. The first time she asked him outright, he gave her a false answer. He told her that tying him with 7 fresh bowstrings would weaken him. That night, she tried it, and when the Philistines came to attack, he snapped the cords like threads. Delilah feigned surprise, acting wounded by his lie. She pushed again, coaxing him, playing on his emotions. Again, he lied. Again, she tried. And again, he broke free. But Delilah was relentless.
If my hair is cut.
Her strength wasn't physical, it was persistence. She wore him down, slowly breaking his will. Day after day, she asked, cried, pleaded. And eventually, exhausted by the pressure, Samson gave in. He told her the truth. My strength comes from God. If my hair is cut, I will become like any other man. It was a turning point. Delilah now held the key to destroying the most powerful man in Israel. That night, while he lay sleeping, she ordered a servant to shave his head.
He prayed.
In that moment,
Not for revenge,
the vow was broken.
but for
The
redemption.
connection to
She
God
tried.
was severed.
They came,
Samson's strength vanished.
but God's strength
When he
shattered their
awoke,
plans.
He thought nothing had changed until the
Bound,
Philistines burst
blind,
in.
and
He
broken,
tried to fight,
the
but nothing
hero
happened.
became their slave.
His muscles, once supernaturally charged, were now powerless. The unbreakable warrior was now helpless. The Philistines captured him, chained him, and took him to Gaza.
Led
There
to the
they
pillars.
humiliated him.
He felt
They
his
gouged
destiny
out his
in
eyes so
stone
he would
beneath
never
his
see
hands.
again. They made him grind grain like a slave. The mighty judge of
celebrated
Israel,
their
once
God,
feared and honored,
mocking
had become
the one
entertainment
true
for his
God
enemies.
and his servant.
But the fall of Samson wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. He had broken his covenant, lost his purpose, and handed over the power God had given
he
him.
remembered his strength
But in that
came
prison,
from God.
something began to change. As he pushed the grinding stone day after day, blind and broken, Samson reflected. He realized the strength he once had wasn't about muscle or hair. It had always been about his relationship with God. Though he had failed, God had not abandoned him. His hair began to grow again, a sign of renewal, not just of strength, but of hope. In time, the Philistines threw a massive celebration to honor their god, Dagon. They brought Samson into the temple as a trophy, a symbol of their victory. The building was packed, thousands of leaders and people cheering, mocking, celebrating. Samson, guided by a servant, asked to be placed between the 2 central pillars.
His
As
strength
hands
shook
felt the cold
kingdoms.
stone, he
The
prayed,
Philistines
not
feared
for
what they could not
revenge,
defeat.
Not for fame, but for one last chance to fulfill his purpose. Lord, remember me. Strengthen me just once more. In that moment,
And with one
something
final
shifted.
act,
His
he
muscles,
brought the
once
temple
powerless,
down.
surged with divine strength. With a mighty push, he
Though
drove
he
the
fell,
pillars apart. The temple
his sacrifice
cracked,
delivered a
crumbled,
nation
and collapsed, burying everyone
redeemed
inside,
a soul.
including Samson. His final act killed more Philistines than he had in his entire life. And in death, Samson achieved what he was born to do: deliver Israel. Samson's sacrifice was not a failure, it was redemption. Though he had fallen far, God used even his lowest moment to fulfill his divine plan. Samson's death brought freedom to his people, and his story became a powerful symbol that even in our weakness, God's strength can shine. Delilah's story, though often seen with contempt, is also complex. She betrayed Samson for gain, yes, but why? The Bible doesn't fully say. Maybe it was greed, maybe fear, maybe ambition, but her actions, no matter the reason, caused pain and destruction. She didn't wield a sword, she wielded manipulation, and in doing so, brought down a man who trusted her completely. Delilah didn't fight Samson. She seduced him, broke him emotionally, and used his love as a weapon. She reminds us that betrayal doesn't always come from enemies. It can come from those closest to us. Her fate after Samson's death is unknown, but her name has become a symbol of deceit. The story of Samson and Delilah teaches deep truths about strength, weakness, choices, and redemption. Samson was chosen by God, yet his impulsive decisions led to disaster. Delilah had influence, but used it for harm. Still, God's plan prevailed. Even in failure, God brought victory. Samson's legacy isn't just in what he did, but in what he became. He was a flawed man who found redemption. His final act wasn't about muscles, it was about surrender. And through that surrender, Israel found hope. So what makes you truly strong? Is it your ability, your confidence, your influence, or your connection to something greater than yourself? Samson's story shows us that real strength comes from God. And even in our lowest, most broken moments, we can be used for something extraordinary. What does Samson's story mean to you? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that challenge and inspire.